Hello everyone and welcome to today's session, Digital Forensics, Best Practices from Data Acquisition to Analysis. I'm Shilpa Goswami and I'll be your host for the day. Before we get started, we would like to go over a few house rules for our attendees. The session will be in listen-only mode and will last for an hour, out of which the last 15 minutes will be dedicated to Q&A. If you have any questions during the webinar to our organizers or our speakers, use the Q&A window. Also, if you face any audio-video challenges, please check your internet connections or you may log out and log in again. An important announcement for our audiences. We have initiated CPE credit certificates for our participants, and to qualify for one, attendees are required to attend the entire webinar and then send an email to cybertalks@ecouncil.org, after which our team will issue the CPE certificate. Also, we would like to announce our audiences about the special handouts. Take the screenshot of the running webinar and post in your social media, LinkedIn or Twitter, tagging EC Council and hashtag CyberTalks. We will share free handouts to first 15 audiences. As a commitment to closing the cybersecurity workforce gap by creating multi-domain cyber technicians, EC Council pledges $3.5 million towards CCT education and certification scholarship to certify approximately 10,000 cyber professionals ready to contribute to the industry.
Did you know that you can be part of the lucrative cybersecurity industry? Even top companies like Google, Microsoft, Amazon, IBM, Facebook, and Dell all hire cybersecurity professionals. The cybersecurity industry has a 0% unemployment rate. The average salary for an entry-level cybersecurity job is about $100,000 per year in the United States. Furthermore, you don't need to know coding and learn from your home, and you get a scholarship to kickstart your career. Apply now. EC Council is pledging a $3.5 million CCT scholarship for cybersecurity career starters. Scan the QR code on the screen to apply for the scholarship. Fill out the form.
Now about our speaker, Dr. Lewis. Dr.
Yes.
Lewis Noguerol is the Information System Security Officer for the U.S. Department of Commerce, NOAA, where he oversees the cybersecurity operation for 6 states in the Southeast region. Dr. Lewis is also the President and CEO of the Advanced Division of Informatics and Technology, INC, a company that focuses on data recovery, digital forensics, and penetration. He is a world-renowned expert in data recovery, digital forensics, and penetration testing. He holds multiple globally recognized information technology and cybersecurity certifications and accreditation, and is the recipient of multiple awards in technology, cybersecurity, and mathematics. He currently serves pro bono as an editorial board member, reviewer of American Journal of Information Science and Technology, and is a member of the prestigious High Adjunct Professor for undergraduate and graduate programs at multiple universities in the US, and as a reviewer for the doctoral program at the University of Karachi in Pakistan. He is the author of multiple cybersecurity publications and articles, including Cybersecurity Issues in Blockchain, Challenges and Possible Solutions. And he is one of the co-authors and reviewers of the worldwide acclaimed book, Intrusion Detection Guide. Prior to obtaining his doctoral degree in Information Systems and Technologies from the University of Phoenix, Dr. Lewis earned a Bachelor's in Sciences and Radio Technical and Electronic and Engineering, Bachelor in Science in Telecommunications and Networking, and a Master in Science in Mathematics and Computer Sciences. Without any further delay, I would hand over the session to you, Dr. Lewis.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Okay, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon and good night, depending on the specific area in which you reside. We are going to have an interesting conversation today about digital forensic best practice from data acquisition to analysis. This is the title of the presentation of the subject, and I'm more than happy to be here with you guys and sharing some of my expertise. So let's go and start the conference. Okay. She already mentioned some of my credentials. I have been working in cybersecurity at this point for over 41 years. This is on my DNA, a topic that I really like and respect and love, as I cannot talk about any other topic in my life. Before we go, I have here a segment that I put together for you, okay? Digital forensic best practice. Well, consideration number one, just to break off the ice, is that in the labyrinth of cyberspace, where shadows dance through encrypted passage and data whispers its secrets, the digital detective emerges. This is us, the digital forensic expert. Clad in lines of code and armed with algorithms, they seek to uncover hidden treasures of true and solving enigmatic cybercrimes. With a virtual magnifying glass, this is what we do. They dissect, or we dissect, the digital tapestry, revealing the footprints of elusive cyber culprits. This is what cyber forensic or digital forensic is about. Each keystroke and pixel holds a clue, something that we can use in our favor. And in these mesmerizing worlds of the digital era, one and zeros, the art of digital forensics unfolds, unlocking the secret of the digital realms. So digital forensic is about finding evidence that can lead to a particular process. It can be a legal process, it can be any other kind of process. But what is digital forensic from my point of view? Well, I mentioned, I guess, already that I'm working in cybersecurity for 41 years. My specializations are in penetration testing, data recovery, and digital forensic. I've been working for the police department at multiple places, doing digital forensic for them. So I try to put the easy definition for you from my standpoint about what digital forensic is. Digital forensic investigates digital devices and electronic data to uncover evidence. Please note that I don't say electronic information. I use the word data intentionally. Understand digital events and trace illicit activities. This is a key component of digital forensic. Normally speaking, digital forensic happens, of course, after the fact, and the idea of digital forensic is identifying traces, okay, that lead to a particular data that we can convey together and make a conclusion. It involves the systematic collection, preservation, analysis, and presentation of digital evidence in legal proceedings. And this is a key today because we are technology dependent. And there are multiple states, at least in USA, in some other countries, in which digital forensic is still in a limbo because it's not accepted in the court of law. Okay, so this is very important to keep in mind. What are we going to do from the digital forensic standpoint, the data collection process, and the analysis? Digital forensic experts use specialized techniques and tools to find out data from computers, smartphones, networks, and digital storage media to support investigations and resolve legal matters. So this is basically what the digital forensic is about. Let's go and start with the technical part, which is the topic I like more. Okay, let's go and talk about those 30 best practices that I'm putting together for you. At the end of the presentation, you will be having the opportunity to ask as many questions as you like. Number one, you have to follow the legal and ethical standards. For this particular first one, I am not going to make any comment. I believe that ethics is a component, is a key component of cybersecurity experts. We always have to follow the rules. We always must follow the legal procedures in the places in which we operate because every single place is different. Component number two, preserve the original evidence. This is a key. Okay, you always have to maintain the integrity of the original evidence to ensure it is admissible in court. Any kind of manipulation, any kind of modification is going to end in disqualification from the court system. Document everything. This is something that technical people like me doesn't like too much. But when it comes to digital forensic, we have to document every single step we do. We have to do video recording of all the steps we follow. And we want to make sure that everything is documented and recorded in the specific chronological order. This is a key component as well for the digital forensic or investigation to be accepted in the law, in the court of law. Secure the scene. Ensure that physical and digital crime scenes are secured to prevent contamination or tampering. If you present anything in the court and the opposite part have the ability to prove that something was not preserved, the conversation is over. Chain of custody, and I'm going to repeat that more than once during the presentation. I'm sorry. Chain of custody is how you establish and maintain the evidence and the process that facilitate how the track or the tracking process is handled. Use right blocking tools. This is another key component of digital forensic. It means that you have to use the appropriate hardware and software that allows for right blockers when you are collecting data to prevent alteration. There are a set of tools you can use, and at the end of the presentation, I'm going to provide you with the set of tools, a specific set of tools you can use as a right blocking tool. Verified hashing or hash values is how you calculate and compare hash values to confirm data integrity. There is a confusion about integrity, confidentiality, and availability. In digital forensic, the most important component is integrity. It means that we have to do every single effort to make sure that the data is not modified in any possible way from the time we arrive to the scene to the time that we present the evidence in the court and after that as well. So the other component is collect volatile data first. Okay, it makes obviously perfect sense. So you have to prioritize this type of data collection as it can be lost or modified when the system is powered down. For many of you, what I'm going to tell you probably is going to sound not appropriate. And this is the following assessment. We have the perception, we have been told from the time that we arrive to the school and even at work that information or data, no information, data in RAM memory, random access memory, disappear when the computer is shutting down. Back in 2019, I make a presentation similar to this one for EC Council as well, in which I prove that the data in RAM memory can be recovered. Okay, so what we have been learning in multiple places, what you can easily find in Google, that data in RAM is lost when the computers are powered down is not exactly correct. The other component is forensic imaging. You have to create forensic image of storage devices to work with copies and always have to preserve the original evidence. This is a requirement in the court of law. You must preserve the original evidence every single time. The other component is the data recovery. Data recovery is very close associated to digital forensic for obvious reasons, okay? And you have to employ specialized tools to recover deleted or hidden data. This is also something to keep in mind. And at the end, I'm going to provide some specific applications you can use to do data recovery. Timeline analysis. You have to construct and analyze timelines to understand the sequence of events. What happened first? The chronological order is a mandatory requirement in the court of law. You cannot provide evidence in the court of law in a random manner. You have to follow the specific chronological order. The other consideration is preserving the metadata, ensuring metadata integrity to verify the source, timing, and authenticity of the digital artifact you are going to present in the court of law. Use the known good reference data, and it means that you have to compare the collected data with known good reference data to identify anomalies. This is a statistical process, a statistic, mathematics. Many times you have to do that as well. anti-forensic awareness. You have to be aware of the anti-forensic techniques and counteract them. There are multiple applications that work against digital forensic. So you have to be aware of that. And before you start the digital forensic analysis, while you are doing or working in the digital forensic data collection process, you want to make sure that you don't have any anti-forensic awareness tool installed or application installed in the particular host or host in which you are going to conduct the investigation. Other very important component is cross-validation. This is what brings actually reputation and respect to the data you are presenting in the court of law. Okay? So the standard operating procedures, very important component that is many times overlooked at, and it's about developing and follow an SOP that maintain or to maintain consistency. This is why documentation is key, and it was presented in slide number 1. Training and certification is other component, and this is relevant. The reason why it's relevant, I understand that you can learn many things by yourself. This is becoming most popular as we become more technology dependent. This is normal and is expected, but certifications are still having a particular value. And there are multiple questions in certification exams in general terms, not only in Easy Council certifications or others, in which most likely, if you don't go through the certification process, you will never find out. And this is what people said, or some people said, well, this is a theoretical information. Digital forensic involves a lot of theoretical information, a lot. Remember that we are doing the analysis at a low level from the technical standpoint. So theory is extremely important and relevant when we do forensic investigation, digital forensic. The same happens with the medical doctors. When the medical doctors do a forensic analysis into a body of somebody that passed away, they also employ a lot of theoretical knowledge they have been accumulating. Digital forensic is no different. The other consideration is the expert testimony. Okay, I am, for example, I live in Miami, Florida, in USA, and I am one of the 11 experts certified by the legal system in the 11 districts. Meaning that when you go to the court, you have to be classified as an expert in order to provide comments and evidence. Otherwise, probably you know more than Bill Gates about technology, but you will not be able to speak in the court because what we said in the court is relevant for the case. And with our wording or statement, and through the evidence we provide, we have the ability to put somebody in jail or release this person from being in jail. So this is extremely important, okay? So evidence storage, this is one of the most important components. Your opponent in the court or in your company is going to try their best in order to choke down what you are presenting. So you have to safely store and protect evidence to maintain its integrity. Integrity is the most important characteristic or consideration in digital forensic without any other close to. So integrity is everything in digital forensic, okay? Data encryption, there are multiple cases in which you are going to do digital forensic in encrypted storage devices, in encrypted data, in encrypted applications. You need to develop the possibility to handle the encrypted data and understand the encryption methods. I have, between the publications I have over 25 publications about different topics and concepts in cybersecurity. A few of them, probably 5 or 6, are specifically about encryption. If we want to do digital forensic, we want to become data encryption experts. There is no other ways. I understand that multiple people doesn't like math, statistics, physics, etc., but this is a requirement to do an appropriate digital forensic assessment. It's a necessity today, okay? The other consideration, and this is for the people that love technology like me attending or watching this conference is network. I am a big fan of network. I have been working in network straight for 41 years. My doctoral degree is in telecommunications and cybersecurity. So network is on my DNA. I love networks over every other topic in information technology. Network analysis is the possibility for you to analyze network traffic logs and data to trace digital footprints. I'm pretty sure that everybody has a tool of mine, and of course, this tool most likely is part of the tools that I'm going to provide in the last slide for you guys. But network analysis today from the digital forensic standpoint is everything. Everything is network related, one or another way. Malware analysis. We need to develop the possibility to understand malware behavior and analysis and how those malwares impact on systems. This needs to be incorporated as part of the cybersecurity analysis when you perform digital forensic today. Cloud forensic. I don't have to highlight how important cloud operation is. Okay, we are moving the operation to the cloud, and for the ones that are still having or running the operation on premise, there is a high expectation that sooner than later you move the operation to the cloud, multiple convenience. But the consideration at this point is not the benefits of outcomes of the cloud. From the forensic standpoint, when you do cloud forensic, the situation is a little different from when you do investigations on premise. So you have to adapt methodologies for investigating data in the cloud independently of the cloud provider. It doesn't matter if this is AWS, Google, Azure, whoever it is. The operation in the cloud is somehow different from the digital forensic standpoint, starting from the way you access the data. Remote forensic is the opportunity to develop skills for collecting and analyzing data from a remote location. This is happening more frequent now as we become more telework related. In multiple cases, my own company, not in my job at the government, but on my own company, I have been doing in the last 2 years, 3 years, probably 2 years or so, more remote digital forensic that probably never before in my life. So this is an important skill to develop as well. Case management is the way we use digital forensic case management to organize and track investigations. I mentioned to you, I go to the court very often, more often than what I want, very, very often. Okay? And they go and scrutinize every single protocol you present, every single artifact, every single document, the specific chronological order. This is a complex process. It's not only collecting the data, the digital forensic data, doing the analysis and going to the court and talking. Okay? The process is much more complex than this. Collaboration. Collaborate with other experts, and I leave one in the middle that I'm going to highlight in a few. Collaborate with other experts, law enforcement, or organization for complex cases. Cases are different in between, of course. This is obvious, and I know you know that. Okay, but you have some cases sometimes in which the forensic analysis becomes very complex. On those particular cases, my advice is collaborate with others. Okay, you do better when you work as part of the team and not when we work independently. And I skip the data privacy compliance for a minute because this is relevant. Every single state, every single, no exception, state court operate under different requirements. So you want to make sure that you follow the privacy regulations in your specific place. Okay, and by the way, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm not expecting any response. But the question is, by any chance, do you know the specific digital forensic regulations in the place you live? Ask the question yourself, and probably some of you is going to respond no. This is a critical thing. Continuous learning. You need to feel passion for what we do. Okay, cybersecurity is a specialization of IT. From my point of view, the most fascinating topic in the world. in the planet. This is the only topic I can talk myself about it for 25 hours without drinking water. This is my life. I dedicate multiple hours every single day, 7 days a week, even when it creates some personal problems with my family, etc. This is on my DNA. I encourage each of you, if you are not doing, to dedicate your life to become a digital forensic expert. Digital forensic is one of the most fascinating topics in the planet, okay? And you want to be attentive to this type of things. Report and presentation when you go to the court or when you present your outcomes of or the digital forensic outcomes to your organization, you want to make sure that you use a clear language, you are concise, and you go ready for the presentation, questions, and answers. You never want to go to the court unprepared, okay? Never in your life. This is not appropriate because at the end, your assessment have the possibility to put somebody in jail or somebody will be fired from the organization or not. So what we said is relevant. Our wording have a huge impact in other people's lives. It's important to be attentive to that. One of the most relevant topics that I have been using in my practice is the use of artificial intelligence in digital forensics since 2017. This is not a topic that is well known at this point. The reason why I really want to share my experience, practical experience, with you guys. Digital evidence analysis, how artificial intelligence can help us. Well, everybody knows that we have multiple applications that we can use in order to analyze the different kinds of media that can be generated, as for example, text, image, and videos. Artificial intelligence tools have the ability to detect and flag potential relevant content for investigations, especially from the timing standpoint. Digital forensic is extremely time consuming, very, very time consuming. It's extremely complex. This is probably, along with data recovery, the most complex specialization in cybersecurity. So the use of artificial intelligence in our favor is very convenient, and at the end, I'm going to include as well, or actually I included in the list a particular artificial intelligence tool that you can use in your favor. The other use of artificial intelligence is pattern recognition. Artificial intelligence can identify patterns in data, helping investigators recognize anomalies or correlations in digital artifacts that may indicate a criminal activity. And out of the whole sentence, the most important question is, the key word is correlation. How we correlate data by using artificial intelligence, the process is going to be simplified, dramatically speaking, based on my personal experience. The other component is the NLP. This can be used to analyze text-based evidence, including chat logs and emails, to uncover communication patterns or hidden meanings. A lot of evidence that we collect, about 65%, is included in emails, chats, documents, etc. So this is when NLP plays a predominant role, artificial intelligence, in the digital forensic analysis. For image and video analysis, incredible benefits, okay? You have the ability to analyze the multimedia content to identify objects, face, and potentially illegal or sensitive content. I'm sure that a word is coming to your mind right now. Estigo, yes, this is part of the Estigo, but it's not similar of doing Estigo by using a particular application that when you employ artificial intelligence tools that are dedicated exclusively for digital forensic, the benefits is really awesome. Predictive analysis. Machine learning models can predict potential areas of interest in an investigation, guiding forensic experts to focus on critical evidence. Imagine that you are analyzing a hard drive that is 1 terabyte. Okay, 1 terabyte holds a lot of documents, videos, pictures, sounds, etc. You know that. Okay, you know that. If you are attending this conference, it's because you are very familiar with information technology, cybersecurity, and digital forensic. Well, how do you find the specific data you need to prove something in the court of law? Well, you have to be very careful about the pieces of data you pick for the analysis. Otherwise, probably your assessment is not appropriate. And again, every single word we said in the court of law or in the organization that we are working for are relevant. It implies that probably somebody will be in jail for 30 years. Probably somebody, if we are talking about a huge crime like an assassination, a child pornography abuse, that implies somebody that died, etc., our assessment is critical, okay? We become the role or the main role player when digital forensic is involved. We have to be very careful about the way we do it. This is not a joke, it's very serious, okay? Predictive analysis, machine learning models or artificial intelligence are pretty close in this concept, can predict potential areas of interest in investigation. We talk about that. Threat detection, artificial intelligence-driven security tools can identify cyber threats and potential cybercrime activities, helping law enforcement cybersecurity teams respond effectively and proactively. More important, we all, the majority of us, have multiple tools that we call proactive in our place of work. Okay, we have different kinds of monitors, etc. But the possibility to do something in a proactive mode is really what we want. Evidence authentication. Artificial intelligence can assist in the authentication of digital evidence, ensuring its integrity and the possibility of this data to be admitted in court. Data recovery. Artificial intelligence help with the recovery of the data that has been deleted intentionally or unintentionally. It doesn't matter. When we do digital forensic, we want to have as much data as we can that serves to make a case against a particular party. From the malware analysis standpoint, the artificial intelligence brings a lot of speed. And this is needed because, again, you are looking for a needle in a tons of water, okay? Or in a ton of sand. And this is very complex. From the network forensic standpoint, we are accustomed to use tools as, for example, Wireshark. Everybody knows Wireshark. And I know that. Well, anyways, there are some specific artificial intelligence tools for network forensic analysis nowadays. And I included two of those tools in the list in the last slide. Automated trace. This is one of the most important considerations for you to consider artificial intelligence in the digital forensic speed. Okay? Basically, this is the possibility to do correlation between large data sets. Case prioritization. Artificial intelligence can assist investigators in prioritizing cases based on factors like severity, potential impact, or resource allocation. And it means timing. Predictive policing, super important, because until today, digital forensic is always reactive mode. We react to something that happened. The possibility to make predictions in digital forensic is fantastic. It never happened before. This is new. At least for me, I started using artificial intelligence back on my own company in 2017, and I have been able to use that in multiple cases for the police department in Miami and another two cities in Florida, Tampa and St. Petersburg, and the results have been amazing. Document analysis. You know that NLP can extract information from documents and analyze textual content for investigations. Artificial intelligence minimizes, dramatically speaking, the time needed for that. Emotion recognition. Everybody knows what happens with the descriptive algorithms. Okay, so we can use artificial intelligence basically to analyze videos, which is awesome because our eyes, our muscles in our eyes doesn't have the ability to lie. We can lie when we speak, or we can try, but the eyes, the reaction to a particular stimulus cannot be hide or cannot be modified. So this is unique. From the data privacy and compliance, Also, you have the ability to automate better, automate the specific data you want to include as part of your report. Okay. Now, digital forensic data acquisition step from my standpoint after 41 years. Preservation, we already talked about this. Documentation, preservation is integrity, okay? This is the most important consideration, categorically speaking, in any kind of digital forensic investigation. You have to preserve the data as it is. And remember, you never use the original data for your forensic analysis, never. You always use copy. And to do copies, you have to use a bit by bit applications, bit by bit. You cannot copy bytes, or you cannot copy even data and forget it about information. So preservation is the most important thing. Documentation, we already know that everything needs to be documented, okay? From the crime scene, office, to the last point. Chain of custody one more time, and I guess that I'm going to mention this one more time because chain of custody means or opens the door for you to present a case in the court of law or to basically have the ability in your organization to prove that what you are presenting is appropriate. You have to plan how are you going to collect the data. You have to plan with anticipation the specific tools you are going to use. What methods are you going to consider in your data collection process? This is relevant. And you always have to consider the cons. Cons is probably more important than pros. When you select or decided to use a particular application for the data acquisition, you always want to focus on the negative. People usually tend to talk about the positive. Oh, I like Wireshark because this and that. It's better that you focus on the negative. In information technology, everything has pros and cons, no exceptions. Exceptions do not exist. There is not one exception. Everything positive has something negative in information technology. And this is what you want to focus on it to avoid problems at the end, okay? So how about the verification process? You have to verify before you work with the real data that the tools and methods you selected work. Okay, you never want to mess up with the original data needed with a copy. You want to test in a test environment your tools, your methods, your approach, the steps you are going to follow. It's very time consuming. It is. But by the way, it's also very well paid. It's very well paid. The only thing I can tell you is that it's very well paid. You have no idea. If you become a cyber security expert and specialize in digital forensic, this is where the money is. And trust me, this is where the money is, okay? I'm telling you first person. Duplication. We talked about that already. The only way to do that is by creating bit for bit image. There is no other ways, okay? This is why you want to use crime blocking devices, software and hardware. I mentioned that before. Checksums and hashing, different concepts that some people are still confusing about it, okay? There is a huge difference between the two. The main one is that hashing is a one-way function. You go from the left to the right, and usually you don't have the ability to come back to replicate the process. Of course, if you have the algorithms on hand, then you can do reverse engineering. This is obvious. But this is not what happens in regular conditions, okay? So checksum and hashing both minimize the possibility that you mistake in your digital forensic analysis. The other component is acquisition, okay? So how are you going to collect the data? What particular tools are you going to use? You always have to maintain a strict read-only access to the source. If you have the ability to manipulate the data in the source, you have the ability to tamper with actually the most important consideration out of the CIA, which is integrity. If the opposite part to you in your organization, the defendant, in other words, have the ability to prove that the the original data or source can be manipulated in any way. The conversation is 100% over, and the case will be dismissed. Categorically speaking, it's no more conversation. So this is a humongous responsibility when it comes to data acquisition, what protocols you use, what specific tools, how do you plan it, how you document. It's a very painful process, in other words. Okay? Now, data recovery. We already talked about the complexity of finding a needle in a ton of sand. This is super complex, okay? But it's doable. The only thing you have to use is the appropriate tools, and you need to have a specific plan because every single case is 100% different. Digital signatures. Sign the acquired data in hashes with a digital signature for authentication. There are multiple cases today in which hand signatures are not accepted anymore. In the government, I am a federal officer for the U.S. Department of Commerce. In USA, in the government, we are not allowed to sign anything by hand for many years back, many years, okay? Digital signatures have a specific component that minimize, dramatically speaking, the possibility of replication. And this is why this is accepted in the court of law. Verification re-verifies the integrity of the acquired image by comparing hash values with those calculated before. The hash values must be exact. No difference, not even in 0.001 percentage. Must match 100% categorically speaking. Otherwise, the court is going to dismiss the case as well. Or the organization probably is not going to take the appropriate action versus in a particular individual or problem or process. Okay? Logs and notes, we already talked about documentation at the beginning. You have to actually make sure that everything is time-stamped. As I mentioned before at the beginning, digital forensic must be collected in a particular order, analyzed in the similar manner, and presented in the report in the specific order in which the process was done. Otherwise, the process is going to be disqualified. And this is exclusively at this point our own responsibility and nobody else. Okay? Storage. We already know that chain of custody is one of the most important components. There are multiple forms depending on the state in which you live and the countries as well, that you have to follow. Anything, if you miss a check mark or if you put a check mark on those particular forms, you are basically dismissing the case, you intentionally. The court doesn't work in the way many of us believe. Okay, we have the possibility to put somebody in the electric chair or to release, to provide freedom to this particular individual or organization. What we said is relevant. Okay, this is very important. Debrief, you always have to be in communication with all parties, both the one presenting the digital process or running the process and the other part as well. You cannot hide anything, zero, from your opponents in the court of law or for the defendant's part. Never in your life. This is why the first bullet in the whole presentation was, as you may remember, ethics. Okay? In digital forensic, we provide what we know to the other parties as well, even to the defendant, to the opponent. Every single time, no exceptions. And we provide every single artifact with the most clear possible explanation to the opponent. This is how the digital forensic process works. Otherwise, it will be dismissed as well in the court. Stealing. You have to make sure that every single piece of digital evidence is properly sealed and that you follow the process by the book. Again, if you skip one step, just one out of 100 or 200, depending on the case is going to be dismissed. No exceptions. The court goes by the book, as you can imagine. And your opponent is going to be very attentive to the minimum possible failure to dismiss the case. Okay? So how you transport the data from one place to the other place, chain of custody. This is the key component, chain of custody. Data encryption, you have to make sure that you prevent or actually prevent integrity manipulation, and you always want to make sure the confidentiality of the data, CIA. We already talked about two components, confidentiality, integrity, and availability. From the digital forensic standpoint, the most important, no exception, is integrity and also the confidentiality. Okay? So from the recovery image standpoint, you always want to have a duplicate for validation and reanalysis. And remember that you always want to work with a copy of the digital evidence. 100% of the time, no 99. You have to preserve the original evidence. This is part of our responsibility. And this is why we do bit by bit analysis and bit by bit copy. It's complex, okay? Now, a specific step in digital forensics to analyze the collected data. At this point, you already went through multiple processes and spent a lot of time. How do you analyze the data you have? Because you are going to have probably terabytes of data. Okay? Well, you have to make sure that hashing and checksums, digital signatures, and the chain of custody have been followed. Data prioritization, what happens and what is more relevant. You cannot present in the court 2 terabytes of data or 2,000 pages. This is irrelevant for the case. Okay, you have to make sure that you use keywords in order to provide a solid report to the court. For this particular case, for the keywords, artificial intelligence has been proven to me that it is of huge help. File carrying, you have to use a specialized tool to recover files that may be deleted or you intentionally hiding. Timeline analysis we talk about, you have to do everything by following a particular sequence of activities. In other words, you have to present and do the analysis in chronological order. In the way that you collect the data, this is the exact way you do the analysis, and later you do correlation. Okay, but you have to follow a particular chronological order. Data recovery, you have to do your best to reconstruct the data that has been deleted or probably damaged even by a physical or electronic condition in the storage media. The metadata analysis is also complex. Okay, this is the next component after the timeline analysis. Metadata includes multiple kinds of data. So this part of the analysis is going to be complex and more time consuming than the data collection. And the data collection is already very time consuming. Content analysis, you have to be very careful because this is basically what the forensic analysis is going to be. Pattern recognition, how you can match one bit of data with another bit. Okay? Is there any association between bits, between bytes, between data, between words? This is a critical component. Communication analysis, again, you want to make sure that you include everything. Emails today are probably the most relevant component of digital forensic analysis. You want to make sure that you master email analysis as well. Data encryption, you always have to keep in mind the confidentiality. And when we are talking about the recovery or the recovery image, I mentioned that as well, similar to the chain of custody before, because you always have to preserve the original data. Evidence examination, you want to make sure that you verify the integrity of the data you have been acquiring, including hash value, digital signature, and the chain of custody. We talked about this already. This is a repeated slide, by the way. Okay? So database examination, and apologies for including a duplicate slide. So this slide is the same to this. Okay? So my apologies for that. It's my fault. Database examination, investigate databases for valuable information, including structured data and logs, entries, etc. Media analysis, this is a very complex process because it's usually about testigo or include testigo, and this is about image, videos, audios, geolocation, and digital signatures. network traffic analysis tools as Wireshark help, but my suggestion is that you use other tools that are part of the artificial intelligence applications we can use today and are available in the market. Stigo is always complex, okay, because Stigo includes not only image, but in many cases, audio as well. And this is very complex, time consuming. You always want to make sure that you use the appropriate Stigo analysis techniques. There are multiple specific for Stigo. Volatile analysis, as I mentioned before, there is multiple ways to do data acquisition from RAM memory. When we turn off the computer, all the data from RAM doesn't go off. This is what everybody said. This is what Google said. This is what people that never do forensic investigation repeat. This is not appropriate. If you know how to do it, and again, I make the presentation for Easy Council in 2019. If you Google my name in this presentation, you will be able to find a particular video in which I was able to recover data from RAM memory after the computer was took down. Believe it or not, go for the other presentation that this is the Easy Council database, and you will be able to see the video, okay? Comparison, you have to do cross-reference every single time to make sure that the data you identify is appropriate, and you always identify identity deviations and inconsistencies before you do the final report. I told you already, when you present the report in the court of law, a minimum mistake, something minimum, will be disqualified in the case. For example, in this presentation, I repeat by mistake this slide and this slide. If I do that in the court of law, case dismissed. Okay, that's it. It's no more conversation. The emotion analysis, we already talked about that. We are talking about persons. Digital evidence is always related to people and processes, applications, hardware, software. So we want to make sure that what we present is accurate. And from the documentation standpoint, it was the second point in the presentation. We have to document everything. Reporting is about compiling in a clear and comprehensive manner, including summaries, methodologies, and supporting evidence. You have to include, or at least in my case, I always include the recordings of everything I do. Everything means even if I open my personal email or if a notification comes to my computer and I open something in my WhatsApp, for example, this is part of the recording as well. Okay? So you have to make sure that you provide an expert testimony. In order to do that, you have to be an expert in digital forensics. Peer review, consult with others, with your partners, with the opponent, with the defendant part before you present. It's not that you are going to modify your report because the defendant doesn't like it. This is not what I'm telling you. It's just that you are going to provide the report, and by the way, you must provide the report to the defendant before you go to the court. By the time you stand up in the court, everything needs to be done. The other party needs to know exactly what you are going to present. This is how the legal systems work, okay, with the exceptions of very few countries. But in the world, this is how it works. So the quality assurance is just making sure that what you present is appropriate. The case management is how you use the digital forensic and managed system to track everything in the analysis process. And from the data privacy compliance, I told you already, every single place, every single city, every single state operate under different conditions. Popular tools for digital forensic, few of those: EnCase, Autopsy, SLEW, Access Data, everybody knows that one, is a forensic toolkit. X-Way Forensic, Celebrity, Volatility, Wireshark, everybody most likely know, Oxygen Forensic Detective, and the Digital Evidence and Forensic Toolkit. Some of those are included in Kali, others do not. Some are open source, others are extremely expensive, for example, EnCase, which is very, very expensive. Some relevant reference about digital forensic. I prefer to use keywords and not particular reference or books because I don't recommend any specific book. Instead, the combination of content and knowledge and expertise. But some words or keywords you can use if you want to expand more in digital forensic are digital forensic best practice, challenge in mobile digital forensic, network forensic techniques, cloud forensic investigations, Internet of Things forensic, memory forensic analysis, because you want to stop repeating what you have been learning for years. When you took down the computer, when the computer is turned off, there is a lot of data that remains in RAM memory for a particular amount of time, of course. Okay? So try to expand on this topic, malware analysis in digital forensic, and cybersecurity and digital forensic trends. Those are keywords that will be facilitating your expansion or your expanding on digital forensic knowledge. Other considerations are some particular journals, okay? In this case, I'm going to risk and recommend the digital investigation that is published by Elsevier. Is one of the top in the world. The other one is the Journal of Digital Forensic Security and Law and the Forensic Science International Digital Investigation Report. I'm open to any questions you may have. And one more time, before I close my lips, I want to sincerely thank you, ISSO Council, for another opportunity to talk about this fascinating topic. Thank you very much for all the staff in the ISSO Council that work tirelessly to make this presentation a possibility. And thank you so much as well for you guys attending the conference and for the questions that you may ask.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lewis, for such an insightful and informative session. That was really a very interesting webinar, and we hope it was worth your time too. Now, before we begin with the Q&A, I would like to inform all the attendees that ISSO Council's CHFI maps to the forensic investigator and the consultant digital forensics. Anyone with a CHFI certification is eligible for 4,000 job vacancies globally with an average salary of $95,000. If you're interested to learn more, kindly take part in the poll that's going to be conducted now. Let us know your preferred mode of training and we will reach out to you soon. Dr. Lewis, shall we start with the Q&A?
Yes, I'm ready for it.
Okay. Our first question is how to prove in court of law that the collected evidence is from the same object and not collected from any other object?
This is a very important question. I really appreciate the clarification on this topic. As I said, we have to be very careful about the way we collect the data. When we are talking about objects, objects are associated to bits. Not to bytes only, but bits. And as I mentioned multiple times, when we do the copy of the original data, we want to make sure that we always do bit by bit. When you do bit by bit and not byte by byte, because a bit implies up to 3.4 volts in electricity, we are eliminating the possibility of mistake. Objects are bigger. A bit do not constitute an object. Objects are formed by multiple bits. This is why we have to do the analysis bit by bit, and I mentioned that multiple times.
Thank you for answering that question. Our next question is, what kind of forensic data can be obtained from the encrypted data where the key is not available to decrypt the data?
Could you please repeat the question?
What kind of forensic data can be obtained from the encrypted data where the key is not available to decrypt the data?
I'm not getting. Are you talking about encrypted data?
I'll just paste the question to you on chat, Dr. Lewis.
I'm not watching the chat right now. Something happened. I'm not watching the chat.
Sorry?
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, I have posted the question on the chat, Dr. Lewis.
Okay, please.
Yes, I have already pasted.
Okay, let me check here. Okay, give me a second. Okay, what kind of forensic data can be obtained from encrypted data? Oh, okay. Okay, well, this is another misperception, okay? Everybody knows that when the data is encrypted, we cannot open the data or the particular file, document, video, any kind of digital forensic data. Let me tell you something. There are multiple forensic tools that have the ability to decrypt the data even when we don't have the key. And I understand the key components, and I understand that the two types of encryption, symmetric and asymmetric. And as I said, I have multiple publications about encryption, but there is most likely always the possibility to decrypt data without having the encryption key. I understand that it doesn't sound popular. It's not what we hear every single time. But when we specialize on digital forensic, we have usually the tools we need to decrypt the data, especially if you are using artificial intelligence. Also, in the government, at least in the US government, in my operation, in the operation I direct, I handle, I supervise, we are using artificial intelligence for multiple things in cybersecurity since 2017. And we are also using quantum computing. Quantum computing is not coming. Quantum computing is in use in the US government for years now. So we are using quantum computing for years. There are multiple ways to decrypt the data when the encryption key is not available. Multiple ways, multiple applications as well that help with the process. It's very time consuming, but there is a possibility for that. And this is a great question because the question is, okay, how about if the hard drive is encrypted? There is nothing that I can do, right? No, this is not like that. There is always ways to decrypt the data, always. It doesn't matter how strong the encryption is, but you need to have the appropriate tools in place. For example, I'm going to mention just one. In case, when I present some tools that I suggest before, I said that encase is very expensive. Encase do magic between quotation marks. Encase do multiple things that we don't learn in the school. Okay? So I can see the other question here, how to adapt to investigation in the cloud, since the cloud providers do not allow most of important operations to access media. When you have to do a case or conduct digital forensic in the cloud providers, 99% of the time, I don't want to say 100 because I don't want to risk on that, but usually the cloud providers include in the SLA, in the service level agreement, what is going to happen if a digital forensic or any kind of investigation needs to be performed in the cloud space. So most likely, the cloud operator is going to facilitate access to everything you need. Sometimes you have to move and go physically to the place in which the data is hosted. Don't believe that the cloud provider doesn't know where the data is hosted. We know where the data is hosted specifically. I have been in San Diego, California, and in other states, in Hawaii back in 2019 as well, doing forensic investigation in a cloud environment. It was actually for something government related, and I was given the permission I need to do any kind of investigation. So cloud providers facilitate forensic analysis because forensic analysis are usually related to legal cases. There are multiple cases in which in USA we don't have access to this data, and I'm going to mention an example, TikTok. The problem between the US government and TikTok is that when TikTok get the authorization to operate in USA, the government was one step behind, okay? And we don't regulate TikTok at this point. TikTok has the ability to prevent forensic investigations in the TikTok platforms for the US government court system or legal system. Okay, but again, usually cloud providers facilitate investigation in the cloud 100%. They cooperate in every single manner they have to facilitate the forensic investigation.
Thank you for answering that question. We'll take last question for the day. what is the best open source free tools for social media forensics?
There is no best open source tool. There is a combination of tools. Number one, digital forensic cannot be performed categorically speaking with one or two tools. This is a complex, time-consuming, and expensive process. I made some suggestions. It's included in the slide. Let me see, slide number 16. Okay, this is the slide in which I include encase, autopsy, slew. Some of them are uppercases, open source, as I mentioned before, but there is not a particular tool or two or three tools that I will recommend, because on top of that, every single forensic investigation is about a different process. You cannot use the similar tools. This is why there are at least in USA, very small amount of organizations, companies that specialize in digital forensic, as my company does. The reason why is because, between many other things, lack of expertise and expenses. Okay? So I do not recommend a particular tool. Instead, the combination of tools. There are multiple open sources. I mentioned a few in slide number 16 of my PowerPoint presentation. But again, those are not sufficient. Those are the most popular and strong, more accurate tools that you can use for digital forensic. But a particular tool, one or two, to do forensic investigation, it doesn't exist. It's impossible. It doesn't exist.
Thank you again to our wonderful speaker, Dr. Lewis, for answering those questions and for the great presentation and knowledge shared with our global audiences. It was a pleasure to have you with us, and we are looking for more and more sessions with you. Before we conclude the webinar, Dr. Lewis, would you like to give a small message to our audiences, please?
Well, no, just want to thank everybody again, the one that worked tirelessly behind the presentation. To you in Easy Council, as always, thank you very much for the support. For all the attendees, I hope you learned something new. Let me clarify that every single content, wording, words, etc. that I have been presenting for you is my original creation, 100%, not 99.99, but 100% categorically speaking. And I put together those notes and reflections for you guys with the hope that you can come back to your organization and serve better, that you can become a public servant and go to the court and testify in favor of the part that deserves your benefits. And I sincerely thank you for the opportunity to share my expertise with you guys. Have a nice weekend, okay? Thank you very much for the time in question. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lewis, for your message. Before we end the session, I would like to announce the next Cyber Talk session. Why are strong foundational cybersecurity skills essential for every IT professional, which is scheduled on November 8, 2023. This session is an expert presentation by Roger Smith, Director, Cadet Managed IT Industry Fellow at Australian Defence Force Academy. To register for this session, please do go visit our website www.eccu.edu/cybertalks. The link is given in the chat section. Hope to see you all on November 8th. With this, we end the session. With this, you may disconnect your lines. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Lewis. Pleasure having you.
Likewise. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Have a good day.